Good evening, all. It is now 6:31 p.m. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Could we proceed with the roll call?
Yes. Alex Colazzo, Bruce E. Cummings, Caleb Gunter,
Here.
Carrie Velanu, Charlie Lykoff, Deborah Rosenbaum, Greg Martin, Joanne Smith, Mariana Seiler, Mary Peliquin, Tangerine Moore, and Zilla Tarko. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Has everybody received a copy of the minutes from our April 27th meeting?
Yes.
Any comments, revisions, or changes that need to be placed?
I'll move to approve.
Second it.
Any discussion? I did have one thing here that I saw. What was it? I meant to email you about it. Oh, it was under the amended motion initially by Carrie Velanu. It stated, Chair Gunter stated the concern expressed was board members were marked absent for a meeting that did not have a quorum present. When I expressed that, that was a question, not a statement. I just don't want it marked as if I was stating it as a fact or approving the idea of it.
Okay.
Sorry. I was asking on behalf, but at that time, it was not me making a statement of any form of support. So that's the only thing I wanted to change.
Okay. Are you moving to amend the minutes?
Please.
We need a second?
I second the.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
We can kick it around for another 20 minutes if you want.
Anyone else have any issues or changes need to be marked?
We need a voice vote, please.
Okay.
Okay. Alex Colazzo, Bruce C. Cummings, Caleb Gunter,
Yes.
Carrie Velanu,
Yes.
Charlie Lykoff,
Yes.
Deborah Rosenbaum, Greg Martin, Joanne Smith, Mariana Seiler, Mary Peliquin, Tangerine Moore, Zilla Tarko. Thank you.
Thank you. Aside from that, can we get a motion to approve now the minutes as amended?
I'll second
We can do that as a single voice thing. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Our first order of business is a department update from Carl.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Just so you all are aware, I know we have several items on here from our department director, Phil. He had a emergency, so I will be pinch hitting for him today. I'll be brief as it pertains to the department report. We have the Great American Beach Party this Saturday, so if you're free and want to go to the beach, hopefully the weather will be good. 11 a.m. to 6:30 at the Loop. We have a shaded tent that we are placing there for those whom will sit and want to listen to the music or the festivities at the Loop. So there will be some shade there, and it'll be a good time. That's typically well-attended event, antique cars, various vendors, and of course, music and entertainment. Also, I want to share with you, we have some updated information as it pertains to the opening of our Aquatic Center. So on the 6th of next month, we plan to have a media day, which the mayor will be there and some of the city officials. We'll also have our city staff there, our head coaches. It's very small and intimate. We'll have a formal opening of the facility on June 20th. Now, keep in mind, these dates are tentative. We are contingent on receiving the partial certificate of occupancy. And on the 20th, hopefully we receive that, or on there about prior to, we'll be able to open up for like lap swim, some diving at specific times for the facility. Yes, it's really nice. It's been a long time coming for a few of you that's been a part of this board, and even for some of you who've just been vested into much of the city projects. Know that this project it's been a long time coming. So it's good to see. It's good to be a part of it, to actually see this facility come to fruition, and I'm looking forward to it. That's all I got. Don't quote me on this number, but upwards of about 40 million.
Worth every penny of it.
Have you found the lifeguards, or is there an update on that?
You're asking about our ability to hire lifeguards. Okay, so we have been able to increase our lifeguard pool. We've increased the pay rate for them, and we've been able to attract a few more guards. The last update I received, we still need a couple more guards to fill out our entire summer, but we're in pretty good shape overall.
And I saw on WebTrack while I was registering for tennis that you're now doing more lifeguard classes.
We are. We've had, I want to say 3, and we're going to add another one in June. And the great part about that is most of those that are in that class will become a part of our team.
Is there an age?
So 15.
15, okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Carl. Any more questions for Carl on the department update? None heard. We'll move on to Enrique Sanchez with the lighting project at George English Tennis Center.
Good evening, everyone. Enrique Sanchez, Parks Deputy Director. I've come before the board before for some lighting projects. You guys have approved 8 projects at different parks, and they're kind of already being implemented to put athletic field lights, upgrade to LED lights where we can no longer find the replacement fixtures of the old metal halide, and we can't. They're hard to maintain. So the 8 was the initial, and now at George English, it wasn't included in the initial because we bundled the softball field with the tennis court lights, and the pricing that came in from Musco, the contractor, was just exorbitant. It was going to be like $300,000 to light just the tennis courts, and $165 for the softball field. So, and it's because the light heights were different, and Musco wanted to put in their own lights, and so again, even though that was an established contract, we felt it wasn't worth the expense. So we took that out of the initial project, and we bid the tennis out separately, and now the price came in at about $60,000, basically to retrofit the existing poles, the existing conduit. All that's in good shape. It's just changing the fixture with LEDs that have shades and visors over them. So reduce the glare, reduce the electricity use, and any light spillage that goes out with these new light visors. So we're asking to approve $60,000 for the tennis court lights and the $165 for the softball lights to upgrade those at George English with the park bond dollars. Yes.
You said there
Please use the mic, Brucey.
The microphone? Yeah, they're shielded, yeah. These aren't FPNL. This is a sports lighting manufacturer. Yeah, so it's specifically to address the tennis court lights. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, all these lights they have, you can go to 50% or 15%. So that's what we do. So if a youth group has the field till 9 p.m. at 9 p.m. we drop down the lighting levels so that they don't stretch it out till 9:15, but we don't just completely turn it off. So there's a, create a safety issue. Oh, yeah, yes.
So, I know you said
Yeah.
original quote was around 300,000. What was the original budget?
What was in the park spawn? I believe the park spawn had 350,000 for all the lighting at George English, and so the original quote was 460, which included the softball and the tennis lights. So
And now it's 160 plus the 60.
yeah, so it was about 300,000 just for the tennis court lights, and it just seemed excessive.
Enrique, you can go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know anything about the quality of these lights? I know Musco Lighting is usually, the high quality stuff. I'm just curious as to the quality of these other lights.
Yeah, so I mean they're not Musco,
Right.
so but they do have a 10-year warranty, and they are certified. They're recreational lights. They've provided backup, and our project manager has reviewed that these lights have been in service, and that they do have a track record.
Okay, I just want to make sure they're somewhere else.
Yeah, no, that
Datum, they're just not.
Yeah, one of the things they did do, because what was our requirements did request an extended visor, and that they had to provide photometrics to show the light did not spill out of the tennis area and the glare did not spill out over the area. So they provided all that, and they created a new visor for it. But the fixture itself is something that's readily available, and again, it has a warranty on it. So any issues, we go back to them, and it's a established manufacturer. I think SLS lighting.
Okay.
So
But sounds like the visor's a custom visor, a custom shield.
yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
So, because I played on these courts and they're kind of dim, are they going to be lighter, like more bright than
Yeah.
they are right now, or is it because like green light for some reason for the kids?
So they're gonna be raised to 30 foot candles, which is what's appropriate for that. So it's not gonna be Wimbledon, but it's gonna be well lit. They're gonna be I think 56 400-watt fixtures, so it's gonna be pretty well lit. But again, it's just gonna be what you have with the old style lights is the light just kind of goes everywhere. With the LED, you can focus the lights, so you get the light where you want it and not outside of it.
Yeah, looking at the photometrics, it looks pretty good.
Yeah. Enrique, you said you're moving away from Musco on this one. Obviously, do you still have controls or capabilities to do what you need to do through Musco, or is that something that staff in-house is going to
The staff
manage?
in-house,
because it's
and we figured at this site it would be
managed site.
It would be okay because it's staffed.
Right.
The tennis courts are open when they're staffed there, so
Right.
it's not like a remote site. Carrie, did you have a?
I apologize if you've already provided this information. So I actually have two questions. The first question is, are you asking us to simply authorize release of $60,000 that's already allocated to George English to go ahead and do this? Or are you asking that we allocate an additional $60,000 to George English?
No. So this is money that's already in George English for lighting. This is, we go here and then we go to the public hearing.
Right.
Commission. So this is, I'm asking that you guys.
This is money for George English. You just want it released so you can do this now.
Exactly.
Okay. And my other question is just.
And it's, just to clarify, it's 60 plus the one, so it's 225.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Is it a net savings or an increase?
Yeah, it's a savings from what was originally in budget. What?
80.
Yeah.
Will that 80 stay with George English and get to be used for some other purpose in George English?
Unless it's decided by you guys.
Yeah, by us. Yeah.
So,
You George English people, well, Debbie's not here, but you George English people need to come with some ideas what you want to spend $80,000 on. So this is my other question.
My apologies. Enrique, can you just, I'm looking at the 2020 bond docs, and it shows under George English lighting, the total amount allocated for lighting is 100,000. Was that amount increased by commission? I'm just trying to figure out. I'm looking at Schedule A right here.
for 2020 bond,
No, the 2020A bond series. I'm looking at the resolution. So I just asked Stephanie, was that
hold on.
amount increased? I just want to clarify the record before we move forward.
let me just, give me 1 second.
This is just to answer the board members' question whether they're moving to allocate 60,000 out of the 100,000, or they're moving to allocate an additional $60,000.
So, no, so there's 100,000 for just general George English lighting. So, but there's another line item for athletic field and court lighting upgrades for
Okay.
325.
Okay, so you're merging those two. I just want to clarify the record.
Well, we're asking for 225 out of the 325.
Right, so that would be, sir, the 100,000 plus
No.
that
So,
athletic.
so there's still 100,000. So when the actual design for George English is done, there might be some walkway lighting, and I think that's where that 100,000 was envisioned for. So now it might be 200,000, or that other 100,000 could be.
Right, I understand. We're not changing the overall allocation to George English, though. That was
No.
right. I understand.
George English overall allocation was 5.3 million.
right, and it'll stay the same.
And it'll stay the same. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify the record.
No, I appreciate that. My next question is, I noticed that around the city in George English as well, we use lights that, come on. I don't know if they come on a specific time or they come on with a light meter, but either way, they come on and stay on. Is that better than having lights that people can turn on as needed? Now, for example, like you have like the pickleball courts at Holiday Park, they need to come on and stay on because those are in perpetual use. I haven't played tennis at George English in a while. I used to play there, and during weekdays, it wasn't heavily played on at night. That may be completely different now. But is there any savings or advantages to be had by having lights that can be turned on as needed, particularly where you have like George English, where the courts, the first 2 or 3 courts have one set of lights that are completely, the other courts, because of the way they're in a row, that you don't need all the lights on at all times if you only have certain courts in use.
I gotcha. I guess, so at George English, it's staffed, so I think we can manage that and turn off lights as needed. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's generally staffed, right? Yeah, so, and I think we've had that model at other sites where there was like a little timer, so someone was playing tennis, they'd go in for like 45 minutes and then the lights would turn off, and if they're still there, they can just kind of keep turning it. But I think there's just issues with keeping those on, and basically when the lights aren't on, a lot of people just wouldn't go there because they would assume it was off. So they moved away from that a while ago. Not that we can't revisit it, and maybe in this day and age, but
these new LED lights are so energy efficient that it's almost a moot point to.
yeah. So
Right.
yeah, it's generally a 60% savings on electricity compared to the old metal halide.
Gotcha.
Are they all on a timer? Or are they, Are the lights on a timer, or does the park ranger come by at the end of the night and turn them off?
No, they're on a timer.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and then, so for the other athletic fields, they're only programmed to come on when, there's a rental or, a
That's the
holiday.
softball field?
A holiday, I think they turn those on a little longer, even if there isn't a rental, but.
I just have a quick question to clarify the scope of the project. So you're gonna use all the existing fixtures on the tennis courts and just refit them to,
The existing poles and conduits.
Poles.
okay.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna get all new, fixtures on the softball field.
Yeah.
How many fixtures would you say? How many poles are they putting up for that?
So on the softball field, we're also just using the same poles.
Same ones?
Yeah, but
Okay.
we're gonna get the new fixtures and the Musco controls.
Okay.
So again, those can be, hey, there's a group coming out, and
Yeah.
so from an app or your phone, you could just change it up, on or off,
So they're gonna use
Yeah.
pretty much just refurbish what's there already?
Exactly,
I
yeah.
gotcha. Okay. So nothing new is really going in except for,
Well,
space-wise
you're
or
getting new heads. and
location.
We're
You're getting new luminaires
Yeah.
and brackets and
it-
what have you.
they're not moving anything around. They're
Not
not
adding
like
more
the
poles or anything
footprint
like
or the
that.
layout is
No.
gonna be the same, right?
No, and again, that's why we were able to do these kind of ahead. They didn't need project design. They didn't need
Yeah.
a lot of these other things. So
Yeah.
we didn't need to pay AECom to do this work.
Good.
You can, the brackets allow you to adjust the lights in certain directions so you can, meet the
Yeah.
photometrics that you're looking for.
When is
So she asked when the work's going to be done and when to start. So we would go for a public hearing on this probably June or the July commission, and then approve the budget amendment, and then we would issue the work order for the tennis court lights. It'd probably be sooner. There is about an 8-week lead time for the materials. So it would be probably end of summer, beginning of fall for the athletic field lights. So since that's with Musco, they're currently kind of working through those original 8 projects. They're about halfway done. So, I mean, it may be, the timing may be equal, but we'd like them to finish those other projects first.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call?
Do we need
A
to do a
roll
roll
call.
call?
Yes.
Oops, sorry. Roll call.
Alex Collazo,
Approve?
Brucey Cummings, Caleb Gunter,
Yes.
Carrie Velanu,
Yes.
Charlie Lykoff,
Yes.
Deborah Rosenbaum, Greg Martin,
Yes.
Joanne Smith, Mariana Seiler, Mary Peliquin, Tangerine Moore, and Zilla Tarko. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Enrique. Next up, we have the item park bond joint use parks approval. Phil, how are you this evening?
Oh, that was something funny. So, for the record, Carl Williams, Parks Deputy Director, not the director. So, I'm here before you now because at a prior meeting, we had a spirited conversation about the joint use of funds for the school board and city funds related to the bond. And so in the packet of information that you have, those are the updated changes that was made for that particular item. One of our commissioners provided some additional funding to help get additional funding for some of the other schools that was associated with the joint use of our parks. And so as part of the bond process, although commission did weigh in on this, we wanted to make sure that we want to bring back to the board so that you all have an opportunity to review it so that we can get a formal approval or motion from you all on how you'd like to proceed.
Ooh,
So a lot of these schools, so they did get some of the things that they was taken away from the beginning. So things have, say like Walker, they omitted benches. So now they're gonna get the benches.
Correct. So the additional funding was, so part of the conversation that this board had was that the funding that was allocated to Sunrise Middle essentially was more than what was budgeted for this particular item. And so because there was a shortfall, that meant that we needed to find some more money for that project to allow for us to be able to fund some of the other projects that are associated with the joint use of the schools. So that there is additional funding for those projects.
And where did you say the money came from? Where did you say the money?
So Commissioner Sorensen provided some additional funds from one of the accounts. I can't recall exactly which one it was, but he provided some additional funding to assist with this effort.
So it's not, that's District 1, right? District 1 out of District 1?
4.
4?
So Carl, can you simplify this for us? It was a long discussion. I mean, and I do feel like most of it was around Sunrise Middle School. What is different in what you've just given us than what you basically approved and sent to the commission or whenever that was, 2 months ago?
Right. So the board, so you all did not approve of the funds that was being moved to Sunrise Middle. And so because of that we moved that item forward to our commission, and commission then agreed with some of the comments that were made and then revisited this particular project. Do you want to add any more to that, Enrique?
So yeah, so when you guys approved it, you kept it within, there was, I think, there was original like 10 million.
Within the budget, right?
And so some of that money was reallocated within these park schools, but we stayed within that number. Basically, the commission decided that everyone should get at least what was put in the bond, the original dollar amount, but we also shouldn't take away stuff that this working group thought was important for some of these schools. So there's an extra, I think, $300,000 for water access and some sort of learning dock at North Fork Middle. So they didn't think that should go away. So they basically added $1 million and change. I don't know the exact amount, but they basically added $1 million to what was the 10.9. 1.08 or 1.1. I can't remember the exact amount, but
I can help Enrique. It was 1,187,500 to fund all the projects that were presented to the commission, because they didn't feel, as he stated, that any projects should suffer. So essentially, the commission approved all the projects in the amount that was initially allocated, plus whatever shortfall there was, which is 1,187,500.
Exactly.
do you mind me,
And I'm sorry, one more question. That 1,000,085 went to a variety of schools, not just to one.
Correct. It went
Correct.
to all the 4 schools that were originally supposed to, kind of, that's how, where it all got chopped up. So now everybody's getting included, the full amount.
So everybody's happy.
Really, I mean, this is like probably the best possible outcome
Yeah,
anybody could have asked for.
It reset the baseline so everyone got what they were,
Correct.
what was originally
Plus,
approved
it
in
added
bond,
the 4 schools
and then
that
if there was
weren't going to get
extra
anything.
Right.
that the committee thought should be allocated, they provided that
Yeah,
extra.
essentially, you all recommended to the commission, the board recommended to the commission, my notes indicate 12 projects. All 12 were approved with whatever initial allocation were approved under the bond docs, and whatever additional amount was approved by or recommended by staff, the commission also approved that. So after all the calculations were made, staff indicated there was a shortfall of 1,087,500, and the commission went ahead and approved that as well.
let me ask this though, we've already voted and approved the delegation of the funding that would be coming out of the parks bond. The city commission then delegated the additional $1,080,000. Why do we need to approve money that they're doing? Is that coming out of the bond? or if it's not, then it's,
Commissioner
for us-
Sorensen,
is it a point for us to even discuss? Because the only thing we really have purview to approve or disapprove of, to me, would be the bond dollars.
Right, so you're approving the plan.
Which is this.
Correct.
That every school
Correct.
got funding.
correct, they
Every
just,
School, even those ones that was added on, gonna get something out this.
That is correct.
they basically
Right.
want to confirm that, everybody's on the same page, that this
And I'm
board-
comfortable with that, making sure that it's still written that what we approved out of the bond is only what's coming out of us and not, I don't want to,
I understand what,
I don't want to make an approval of this new budget and later it say, well, it's all coming out of the parks bond, you guys approved it.
No,
That wasn't our original statement.
Yeah, the extra million, it is coming out of the Parks bond. It's, I believe,
That's-
I believe there was money allocated for future park purchases. And the commission thought that this, we're basically getting 4 new sites that weren't current. And so the commission.
And that's why I asked the question.
Made the argument that we're getting 4 new sites that weren't previously open to the public. So they allocated some of that money that was kind of unallocated for future park purchases for this purpose.
So they kind of agreed to the 4 added parks so that Sunrise can get the extra money.
So our vote doesn't matter anyway.
That's
We
more,
held the
maybe
budget line,
for-
they told us no.
I think they wanted to bring it in front of the Parks Board because the bonds say you guys should approve the allocation, but then it has to go to commission, so I think they're the final approval, but I think they wanted to come back.
But they already approved it.
Well,
They
the-
found
to-
the funds,
to-
they found the funds, and they want us to approve the
everyone
funds
to be in alignment.
that we didn't
I
give them to
believe-
begin with.
Formality purposes to bring it to the board.
I believe what's before you is the 12 projects that were approved by commission, the planning of those projects, and moving forward with the projects as presented by staff. The resolution 2008 does allow the commission to approve finance of the parks and recreation projects, whether they were stated or new projects to be funded in whole or in part by the parks bonds. So whether the city manager, whether the city commission can finance all of the projects from the parks bonds, or as Commissioner Sorensen indicated, and as Carl also indicated, Commissioner Sorensen indicated that he could find some money in his coffers to help fund these projects.
Right.
But
that's
did he
my
find
understanding.
money in his coffers, or did he find money in our bond coffers that now he's reallocating? And
Right, and
so,
Not sure where the
And-
money's coming from.
and that's what I want to know
And
is,
again-
what are we voting to take away from? And it's easy to say it's coming from potentially future parks, and yet half of our discussion in our meetings is what properties is the city purchasing in park deserts? And
again, if I may, at the last commission meeting, the commissioners, the mayor and commissioners did approve these projects, these 12 projects that were presented to them, to fund them in whole, the way they were presented by staff. And then there was a shortfall, as Mr. Phil Thornburg indicated to the commission, there's a shortfall. If commissioners wanted to fund all of the projects in full, there would be a shortfall of $1,087,500. That was presented to the commissioners. They approved it with that additional funding. Now, in terms of what's being brought back to you today, I believe is whether to move forward with these projects as funded by the commission. And it would be the commissioner's call as to whether they're gonna fund those projects in whole or in part from the park bond money. Now, you can send recommendation to the commissioners how you want the money to be allocated, But again, it would be up to them to decide and make the final vote. Okay.
So the question that was asked is, where is that 1.875 coming from?
So, okay.
Are we being asked
So
to
let me
approve?
let me kind of delve in here. So the money that was added to this was gauged from commissioners' park property purchase funds. So this additional money is not coming from bond.
It's not bond money.
So there was $30 million allocated in the bond for future park purchases. I think
Right.
only 7 million have been purchased. 7 million have been used so far for several purchases throughout the city. And then, so at this point, they said a 1 million from that, yeah, from that,
That 30 million is gonna go towards the,
yeah.
augment this shortfall in the budget.
But it is park
It's-
bond
it's-
money.
It is park bond money, but yeah, yeah, it's not written in the bond document, but they've kind of said that each district, they kind of, if you get 30 million, you break it up into 4 districts. You know, you could put all 30 million in, you know, right out here, if you wanted to, as the bond documents, but I think they've kind of worked it out where they're gonna split.
In essence, District 4 is sacrificing some of their private property acquisition in order to move forward with a joint use park program, so that even schools that may or may not be in their district are going to get funded. So they are sacrificing some of their private property acquisition, the way I understand it.
And I believe two of those schools are in Commissioner Sorensen's area.
Right, and I believe that's why I tried to answer your question, ma'am, is that the money, there is park bonds money, and there is other funding that can be allocated. The commissioners have the choice to either use all of the money from the park bonds, or use other funding sources. They don't have to use the park bonds money. That hasn't been determined yet.
And I think part of the reason this is confusing is because joint use parks was something that was kind of newly introduced along the way. And technically, joint use parks was not really, you know, something that was, I think, originally funded correctly, or it was somehow split off from the original parks bond. Like, that money was, the property was there, they were just gonna fix it up so that we could use it. But it was always kind of a different, you know, it was like sectioned off. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that they're just looking for, you know, this board to agree that we are actually going to be taking some of the money that was allocated for property acquisition and move it from that into joint use parks.
Correct.
It's a much bigger ask than what I think was presented to us.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So,
So can I say one more thing? I'm probably stated before. So did each one of these parks go back and readjust what they had on here, what they was asking for? They had opportunity to add the things back on their list, since the funds were granted to additional funds?
If we compared this list to the one we had a couple of months ago, there'd be 1.875 million additional to make up the shortfall that Sunrise.
I know, I'm just
Well,
saying-
no, so,
I know what you're saying.
yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm just even like Lauderdale Manors. Maybe Lauderdale Manors was asking for a bench, needed a bench, but didn't put it on the list.
yeah, no,
So now you got the extra funds. Did we go back to Lauderdale Manors and say, okay, we got extra funds, now we can add this bench back on here?
yeah, so essentially, what the commission did is they reset what was in the bond docs as the baseline. And then they said, you know, that a good argument was made that there were projects that weren't considered through the master planning process and before that are good ideas, whether it's the dock at North Fork that got additional funds, or new parks like Harbordale, Thurgood Marshall, Dillard, and Rock Island.
Right.
So they said, we don't want to pick and choose. The voters voted for this level at these sites, So we're gonna approve that, at that level. And then we're also going to allocate an extra $1 million to open up these other sites or do enhancements that were deemed, appropriate at the time.
May I suggest, if I may, that maybe staff can prepare an accounting of what was approved by the commissioners in terms of what these projects are being, the current allocation of the funding and the
Right, so
funding
that's in-
source. Basically, what the commissioner indicated, what they had approved initially is not what the commissioners approved. So what amount was approved for, let's say, George English, Sunrise Middle? Would that help if staff
Yes.
presented you with that and the funding source, where the money, where the additional 1,000,087 is coming
Right,
from?
yes, yes, because I took notes and I have, from the last meeting, I have what amount was allocated, like Harbordale was 270. I don't know what's on this paper now for Harbordale. Where's Harbordale? Harbordale is 275.
Because some of the numbers did change, correct, Carl?
That is
Right.
correct. Some of the numbers did change.
Right, and at this point, I can't tell you, and I don't know if Carl can tell you specifically. Can you address that?
So the numbers that's before you, these are what came before commission, and then they already kind of approved this.
Right, so,
amount.
okay, so then I think that's what he was asking.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
$1 million 80.
Correct.
So money really not coming into play here, essentially. They want the additional projects approved, and the money's gonna come from somewhere more than likely from the park bond purchase fund. Correct?
The land purchase fund, yes.
Yeah, so
From Vice Mayor's.
to me, it's really a moot point. I think one way or the other, this amount's gonna get approved.
I
They're really
agree, but
good.
listen, and the Joint Parks Program is a great program, and I think
Yes.
staff and everybody else, they worked really hard to come up with this, but they were given budget guidelines, and I thought we did a good job by trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
hold those budget guidelines.
Longest meeting I think we've ever had.
Parks bond. What's occurred is we held the line on the budget for the Parks bond so that we could buy other parks. It went to the commission. The commission, it appears to me that the commission now can say, well, no, we will spend Parks bond beyond that. That means we won't be able to buy another piece of property somewhere, which was what I thought the original purpose of the Parks bond was. So, look, I want all these projects to happen, and I think this is a positive thing, but I'm not jumping up and, I have another issue. I think every expense item that we've seen is gonna increase by 15% when it comes time to actually do it. And they're gonna be back to us, asking us for more Parks bond dollars to complete these projects, which will also take away from acquisition opportunities. So I just, this was put in front of us kind of as an administrative, hey, this was great, this is what they did, and there's a little more to it. I think if we're being asked to approve it, if we're just to see it, great. This is a big win for all the schools, and I'm happy for it, but I'm not jumping up and down to say that I need to approve what the commission decided to do. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but I'm not here to approve anything.
So I just want to speak to the flip side of that, and I feel like I probably should. So I wasn't at that meeting because I had COVID, but I was actively emailing and reaching out to commissioners, and I sent an email, I think, to be read or whatever, and I was actively making this argument that we are essentially opening up 4 new parks that were not contemplated under the parks bond, and that's a good thing to do that, but we also have to honor our commitments that were made in the parks bond to Sunrise Middle, to VSY, to the other schools that were getting what had been approved for them chopped in order so that we could open up these 4 new locations. And I was actively arguing that we should just be taking money from the $30 million in acquisition funds and reallocating it to this, because we are using this money to open up new locations, and that's a worthwhile thing, and we should be doing that. So as Alex said, in my opinion, we are getting exactly what at least those of us that were advocating that Sunrise shouldn't be cut and VSY shouldn't be cut, but that these other locations that were left out should also get what they need. In my opinion, we got exactly what those of us who were advocating that position asked for. I totally understand Greg's position that, you guys, I wasn't at the meeting, but you guys did hold the line. You made tough choices to say, like, okay, look, we're going to make a tough choice. We're going to to stay within the parameters we were given, but the city commission, you know, is within their right to say, okay, look, but we think it's worthwhile to go outside that and use some of this. And I'm glad they did. I think it's important that we do honor the obligations, the commitments that were made to the voters when they voted on it. I think it's also important that we do meet the additional needs that were identified, and that does involve opening up parks and locations that parks don't currently exist when you're talking about those 4 other schools that were left off. So I think it's a good thing. I absolutely have the concerns about, you know, I don't think that there would be a situation where we could take more money from the acquisition thing to simply, you know, if the price of some of these fixtures goes up and you can no longer do all these fixtures within the amount line item for that school, I don't think you could take more money from the acquisition fund, because now that money is not being done to acquire parks and new locations. It's just being done to build out specific amenities. I think you would just have to make tough choices about what amenities you wanted to do with the amount that you had. So having said all that, I move to approve, and this doesn't, if I move to approve, does that cut off?
Yeah, because I got a question.
Oh, I didn't know if that would cut off. We still have discussion, right? Okay. Then I move to approve the plan as presented.
I second that motion.
It's an open discussion, not what we just did. Okay. So my question is, looking back on my notes back in October of '21, the numbers to me didn't change. Only thing changed was the 1 million added to Sunrise Middle.
No, their number, I've got the 10 o'clock meeting we had. I still have my original notes,
Okay.
and I can tell you what
I
each,
mean, on what date?
oh, 9/4? September? Was it last year? Yeah, September of last year, I guess.
September, right, but we met on October 27th.
There was, and there was a list, Tangerine, of kind of the, you know, the sacrificed items, and I have a feeling those are the ones that have come back in. We go back to the simple question, what's different? And it was not just one location.
Right, I
And
know.
I think that's fair. We had a loud voice from the one location, but it definitely was spread out amongst other things. So I don't want to intimate that it's all just one location.
No,
This is good for everybody. I agree with this. I just think it's odd that we're now being asked to approve it. That's my concern.
Right, just so, for clarity though, when this was originally presented, there was a shortfall in all of the projects that wanted to be funded. Now, with the additional funding that Vice Mayor used from his particular land acquisition allowed for the project as is to all be fully funded. So I don't know if I'm.
I just have one question following up on his. So for the joint parks, can we play, like, can we go to the baseball courts while they're in like school, or is it just certain times outside? So it's
After
not
school.
really a full park.
Yeah, it's during non-school hours, so summer and after school is out,
Okay, so it's not like
no
a
school
full
days.
park. Like you're not really getting a full park. You're getting a part-time park.
Amended
Yeah, but
use.
we picked up, I don't know, 18 different parks that we didn't really have before.
Yeah. It's open space and it's fields for soccer practice and after school.
Right, but you
This
can't.
is a good program.
It's open during the times that most people are going to the parks, right? Like,
That's what I'm saying. So is the park open?
yeah, it's open after.
Park at 5 o'clock if they're still having football practice or soccer
It
practice?
depends on the location. It depends on if that school has like an after-school program or something like that. But so, like, you know, Alex could speak to Sunrise. I could speak to VSY. People could speak to the ones in their individual neighborhoods. I know, for example, like the VSY one is open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the weekends, and then open all summer. You know, I don't think it really gets open that much on weekdays because I do think they have like aftercare there. I think that the Sunrise one is open more. So it depends on the school and what particular activities they like. If they have school kids who are actively using that, then it wouldn't be. It would. I don't think it's open to the public during times when the school kids are on the property. But so it's not the same as a full use park. But there's certainly very beneficial. I mean, you think you get all day Saturday and Sunday from them, you get the summer from them, and then to the extent that there aren't an after-school program that's using them, you get that. And for certain locations, like they're much better than nothing. You could either just have that land just sitting there fenced off and unusable, or usable when it is usable, and we're not paying nearly the price that you would pay. I mean, yeah, we're not getting full complete use parks, but we're not paying for full complete use parks. I mean, you look at the size of, the amount of land for, say, Sunrise Middle, you couldn't buy that for this amount of money. You look at VSY, I mean, that might be an acre, right? Between the play field and the playground and all that, it's probably an acre and a half. You couldn't buy an acre. You couldn't even buy the land for that much amount. So it's a really good deal, and I think it's kudos to the city and county for working it out. There's a lot of areas in the country and probably around Florida where that type of thing doesn't get worked out, where the county says, no, we don't want the liability of non-students, non-faculty on our property. No, we're just going to leave it fenced off. And then you have kids that, for one reason or the other, they don't have a parent to drive them to a park or whatever, and the park in their neighborhood that they could walk or bike to is fenced off because it's a school board property. So it's a really good thing in terms of opening up properties to kids. And like I said, we're taking 4 locations that previously got left out of the bond for one reason or the other, and we're going to make it so that they are accessible and usable during as many hours as they can be used. And I think that that's a really good thing.
Yeah, I would agree. This is an excellent project. One thing with Alex and Carrie, your permission, I'd like to maybe move to amend our motion, just so that we're not approving a reallocation of the bond, but more so that we acknowledge the commission has the authority to do that, right? They overrule us in that situation, and that based on their reallocation of the bond, we're okay with the projects presented. So with your approval, I would like to amend the motion on the table.
So I can't agree to that because this is exactly what I wanted them to do. This is exactly what I was asking them to do. However, you may be in the majority, so I will withdraw my motion, let people discuss and decide. I mean, to me, they've done exactly what the people from Sunrise were asking them to do, the people from VSY were asking them to do. Any other schools that were getting cut, they may have been asking the same things. I only know as to those 2 schools, but this is exactly what we were asking them to do. But I will withdraw my motion, and then if people want to phrase it that way, that's perfectly fine. But to me, this is exactly what I wanted them to do. So I withdraw my motion. Alex, if you'll second that, and then if the group wants to phrase it a different way, then that's fine.
Well, and I respect their authority to do that, right?
Yeah.
That's their prerogative.
Right.
I just don't want us to be on the hook for rearranging the parks bond when it was really the commission that did so.
Well, yeah, I want to commend the city commission because, I mean, this is a perfect example of how they were able to compromise and take what was intended for this advisory board that brought it to their attention, and they were able to really kind of straddle a lot of open ground in order to accommodate everybody. And that's a pretty rare thing that you ever see in local city government or any government for that matter, really. And how they did it, having to take a little bit from here to give to there is probably about as good as you can ask for. I know that they were, as we all are in all of our districts, struggling to find the properties to find that you can actually buy and make a good use park. So I think that it was very noble and commendable for Commissioner Sorensen to volunteer some of the properties there in order to accommodate everyone in the Joint Use Parks program.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. I think it's more so that we're not the ones who made the decision. So by us approving it that way, I don't know.
I think they're just
We're approving
asking
the
us to
12 projects.
Have a
approve
hard
the
time
project.
Carl, I
I think we
need to
should
ask that
taking
question.
away
project.
from what I
Are you being
didn't.
asked to approve
One
the
at a
budget
time.
for the new joint parks?
One at a time.
No, you're being asked just to approve the
Project.
project as is.
Why do we
anybody's
numbers don't
cur-
matter, then the pricing doesn't matter to us, right?
That is correct.
So I'm sorry, I missed that. What did you say?
Then the pricing doesn't matter to us.
You're asking me the pricing doesn't matter?
He's saying the cost doesn't matter.
We're not
It's not-
being
that's
asked
really
to
not the
approve
part of the
$2
question.
million. We're not, all we're being asked
that's
to
why
do
I
is
think we
say,
need to
do
clarify.
the work that we said we were gonna do with these other parks.
That is correct, sir. That's, what's before you is the work, is the plan, is the
Where that
project.
money comes from, we have no control.
I think my motion was just to approve, the joint use plan as presented.
Right, that's what
Yeah.
I said.
Presented with a budget, guys. I
Oh.
mean,
So can we move to approve the joint use plan as presented based on the commission's reallocation of the parks bond?
I think that's a good answer.
Y'all understand that?
It sounds very good.
And it's very simple.
Move to approve the joint use parks bond or the joint use parks presentation, subject to the acknowledgement that the commission reallocated the parks bond money.
Am I able to second that?
I don't think so.
Can you-
I don't think the chair can. Okay. Any discussion?
I just want to chime in real quick because I know we're talking about budget real quick, and I mean, I'm pretty sure that the joint use park budget, it says 12 million here. That's kind of what we were working with all along. They were just kind of, moving stuff around in order to accommodate the new parks. So
It's clearly $1.8 million larger than what we sent to the commission.
Yeah, what we sent to the commission was,
Right.
you know,
Clearly.
Right,
10,948.
The problem I have is that they only allocated 30 million, or what was it, 30 million to begin with out of the 200 million. That was all they allocated for buying land. And yet they're taking that little bit, because each commissioner got, what?
$7.5 million.
Right. And they have not used it, because they haven't been able to find property
At a reasonable price.
at a reasonable price.
Like we're getting new parks.
we're getting parks, yeah.
Getting parks. It's not
Opening
buying the
access.
property, we're just buying the capital funds to make the
We're
improvement.
just using existing places as parks.
Right, you need capital funds.
Yeah, but
to-
It's
they're
not
not open,
mine.
but they weren't open to the public.
It isn't ours, they aren't ours, we're just going into partnership with school system.
But they weren't parks at all before.
Yes, they were. Oh, well, you mean in terms of the way in which we're
Yeah.
putting the money into it?
Right.
Remember,
This is all really good
And everybody got what they wanted.
for everybody.
do you remember when they came to us for like $7 million for the locker rooms for the Aquatic Center? And I was like, no, you spent all your money on a dive tower that no one from Fort Lauderdale will ever set foot on. Take the money from your dive tower and spend it on locker rooms. I'm not taking money from the parks bond to be used for public green spaces for the public and putting it to a locker room when you spend all your money on a dive tower that's not for residents. And I think Brucey was with me. I think we were the only two people that voted to say no. It's parks. Greg, it's a good point. So now here we are. We end up in that situation. So.
So back to our motion.
Yeah. Let's see if
We had a
that's-
second, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we got a
Need
second.
roll call.
So are we through with discussion? or-
Roll.
Roll call.
Roll
Roll
call.
call.
Alex Colazo,
Approve.
Brucey Cummings,
Approve.
Caleb Gunter,
Yes.
Carrie Velanu,
Yes.
Charlie Lykoff,
Yes.
Deborah Rosenbaum, Greg Martin,
Yes.
Joanne Smith, Mariana Seiler, Mary Peliquin, Tangerine Moore, Zilla Tarko. Motion carries unanimously.
Well done, Phil. We'll move on to the next item. Phil, the Beach Community Center Rooftop Park approval.
Yeah, so before you and the information that was provided to you in your packets prior to this meeting, is that me? All right. So this particular rendering here, we've been in, of course, constant communication with our program manager, and this is the latest design. And so we are bringing this before you for your comments and approval.
My comment is thank you so much for doing something on a rooftop.
I'm curious,
I
what,
literally
what
bring up
building
rooftops
is this on?
nonstop. It
'Cause
is so great to see this happening. whenever it's time, I'm going to try to be either the person who moves or the person who seconds because I'm so excited to see some rooftop action going on. I feel like every time I talk about rooftops, people roll their eyes and act like, shut up about rooftops, and here we go. It's awesome. Way to go.
My comment is, you got an awful lot of green space open, and it's without any shade. There are no trees there or anything being put in?
No, the blue section's the shade.
Right, there are some elements that are added into the project
Trees.
that will have shading elements.
Yeah, 4, 11, and 5 and 11, something like that.
And
Whatever the
then
blue things are.
Are the green circles, are those trees around the perimeter?
That's correct.
I was looking at the middle, the center, the huge green, they're in number
There
three.
is a field there, yes, but there's plenty of shade there too.
Yeah, all the left, yes, but I was just looking at the big,
Oh.
I wasn't sure about space with the sun. I just think of, oh my God, it's so hot. Yeah.
Carl, what rooftop is this?
So this is going on top of the existing parking lot over by the Beach Community Center,
I mean, Las
right in
Vegas.
front of the building.
Okay.
No,
And
32nd Avenue and 33rd Avenue, between 33rd.
correct.
And are they redoing I guess, are they making it kind of a parking garage then to build this rooftop space? What is it
So
existing?
cars
as
will
now?
park underneath the existing,
Right.
you know, and then this is basically just a recreational space that we're adding to the neighboring area.
Right. Is it just a one-story garage then is
Correct.
this? Okay. And then, I mean, has the city looked at potential needs for additional parking over in that area to potentially elevate it anymore, or is it set as just a single-story parking?
Correct, just the single story.
Okay.
This has the two-story retail plaza that goes a little bit to the east.
This is the allocation
So yeah,
of
this will
3.5
just fit
million.
right in with it. Won't stick out like a big parking garage.
Yes, for this particular area project. Same amount.
And is this a prelude to exactly what we're going to do on top of the Riverwalk Center parking garage?
I can't speak to that yet.
So is the roof that we're building this on, is that currently rooftop parking that's being replaced by a park, or are we building a new structure?
You're actually building a structure
On
that-
top of, so there's currently a one-story parking garage?
Not a garage,
There's
just
no-
open
no-
parking.
There's no
lot.
garage, just surface
Yeah, so
parking.
Think of the parking lot that is there now. We're just building.
It's a surface parking, you're going to build,
Yeah, we're
So
putting
there's
green
surface
top
parking
on top
now.
of.
yeah, and you're going to
We're
build
just
this on top of
adding
it.
This here recreational area on top.
Okay,
So we're getting a new park.
Correct.
exactly.
Getting a new.
And when we do this on the parking garage in Holiday Park, and we do this on the Riverwalk Center parking garage, and when we lease the courthouse parking garage from the county and do this there, those will all be new parks too. And you don't always have to do green space but anyway, this is awesome. I'm going to move to approve.
Let me ask one other thing though. The number 3 open green space area, is that gonna be grass?
Yes, like a synthetic kind of turf.
Synthetic.
I see staircases and elevators up to it, but how do you get a mower up there?
Right. So it's not gonna be.
Synthetic.
Oh, synthetic.
Right.
I'm sorry, I did not
Get
hear
a
that
vacuum.
part. Perfect, okay.
The weight of the soil for real grass is surprisingly heavy. It's really hard to do real grass because when it rains, the weight of the soil retains so much water. It's shockingly heavy. So you kind of have to do synthetic.
Right.
And like you said, it'd be tough to mow. Though you could put some goats up there to chew it. That's what they do on the houses that have green roofs.
Looks fun.
Roll call?
Yes, please. I'm sorry, I didn't even hear that we had a motion.
We had a motion, we had a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, motion with Carrie Velanu.
Yeah,
second,
Mariana seconded.
Seiler.
Okay. I was asleep at the wheel.
Roll call?
Yes, please.
Alex Colazo,
Approve?
Brucey Cummings,
Yes.
Caleb Gunter,
Yes.
Carrie Velanu,
Absolutely.
Charlie Lykoff,
For sure.
Deborah Rosenbaum, Greg Martin,
Yes.
Joanne Smith, Mariana Seiler, Mary Peliquin, Tangerine Moore, Zilla Tarko. Motion carries unanimously.
Well done, Phil.
I do want to support Carrie on this. This is great creative use of this space. That's a gravel lot. This is great. This is going to be great when this is done.
All right. Carl, next item is the Holiday Park update.
Yes, so the rendering before you is a conceptual plan that was shared with the neighborhood and they have agreed with it. And so with that said, I want to bring it before the board for approval.
They agree with it?
They did.
Who did,
Are you sure?
The neighboring,
really?
Are you sure?
Which neighborhood?
that's what I was advised.
My understanding was that there had been some discussion and that items 2, 3, and 2 were being moved to the area that you currently have showing as number 9. Now, I'm not disagreeing if this is what the current rendering is, but my understanding from the VPCA meetings I attended was this was the original rendering that was proposed. There were certain comments and concerns that were raised, and that a different rendering was then proposed, which moved the playground, the splash pad, to the area that's now number 9, the dog park, kept the dog park in its current location, and eliminated number 4, which is the additional workout area, and also that had an additional, I think, 8 pickleball courts in the location between the current pickleball courts and the surface parking, and eliminated the existing social center. That was the last rendering I saw. Now, I'm not saying that this is, I'm not saying that that one didn't get scrapped and this is the current one, but that was, from the VPCA meetings I went to, that was my understanding. I could be wrong.
I had shared a couple emails with Phil, and his note to me was that this was the conceptual plan that the neighborhood approved, and so we're looking to move forward with the design.
So does that mean we're not getting those additional pickleball courts that were, are you familiar with the one that I'm talking about that had the additional 8 pickleball courts where the social center is currently located? They should put them on the parking garage. Actually, yeah, they 100% should put them on the parking garage, but I don't know if they're going to do that.
So it's my understanding that if we move forward with the YMCA's plan that they're going to build off of Federal, that social center comes down, and that's where additional pickleball courts would be included.
But yeah, none of that's included on here.
Right.
The surface parking.
That's correct.
But you just said that, so you're saying that the 8 pickleball courts that would go where the social center currently is are not on here because the YMCA has not 1,000% committed to,
My understanding, that's a contingency based on that from where
based on YMCA actually doing something? Okay.
I have a question about the field as it is right now in terms of the Friday night musicals. Where on here would they be?
they'd still be at the multipurpose fields.
But you walk, I mean, where?
Yeah,
No,
that's not moving.
That's not where the music, you
Yeah,
walk
there is,
across
yeah.
the fields
Well,
and then
right,
it looks like.
It's labeled soccer fields. It's
labeled
actually a
soccer.
football field, but it's labeled soccer fields on your map.
it's labeled soccer fields. And to the south is the new turf fields, synthetic turf fields.
Yeah, it's just labeled soccer field. It should be,
That's correct.
yeah, yeah.
They really do have the soccer fields there.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying,
And-
what-
and
if
They're
I-
technically multi-purpose fields because we program soccer there as well as football, but the
And
Starlight
concerts.
Musicals,
Brucey?
from my understanding, is not moving. It's staying
I've
there.
always walked across the soccer fields from
Yeah,
down
Brucey,
south,
you
walk
don't,
across to where the setup is. And
Brucey,
that's no longer here.
if you look at number 7,
Well, she's right.
number
The,
7,
the building between the
no,
two.
due east, that is where the current Friday night musicals are.
Right, but the building is not on the map.
Tiny little
Like,
diamond.
yeah, that's the bathrooms and everything
Oh,
like that.
okay.
But due east of that would be the
That's
beginning
right.
of the multi-purpose fields. There's like
Got
one
it.
huge multi-purpose field. Yes, they're staying there.
Oh, okay.
Is this reflecting that the buildings between those two multi-purpose fields is coming down? Since it's not on, the building that holds the scoreboard,
Right, it's
is
got-
that, you drew it? I'd like to move into evidence Mariana's drawing is the new rendering? Yeah, there's I mean, there's a whole concrete pathway between those two multi-purpose fields that's not on here.
Right, it's not to scale,
No, it's not.
not at all.
And I'm curious about where they're gonna get the electric for the Friday night musicals, because that's where they get it from. It's from that building.
Yeah, it's from that building. So, I mean, with the building not being on the map, is it coming down?
We have a question for you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The building between so Brucey's talking about the Friday night musicals. They're on the multi-purpose field. It has I think of it as a football field because it has the goal.
Mhm.
There is a building between those two fields. It's the scorekeeper's building or something.
Box?
Press box, right? That's not on the map. Is that press box and the concrete pathway that it's located on coming out since it's not on the map?
No.
Okay.
It could just be an error here, but yeah, it should be.
I think they left that blank because they're not really touching it. They've already been converted. They're not doing anything with it, so they just.
So the only stuff that's changing is the stuff that's truly new, right? The dog park's moving.
Yeah, so the dog park, the splash pad, the playground, the additional workout space, and then the loop, the red loop in the parking garage.
But they're not changing anything that's like War Memorial Southeast, nor anything baseball,
Right.
right? Okay, I'll move to approve.
I do have a
I'd like to
question.
ask another question.
But
Sorry. Carl, if the YMCA deal does not occur, we're not gonna knock down the gym, are we?
So the gym.
Guess I asked that the wrong way.
That's,
If the YMCA deal does, are we still planning to knock the gym down if the YMCA deal does not occur?
The social center.
No, I'm asking about the gym. Gym's getting
well,
knocked
it
down.
is they call it the social.
Well, those are two separate buildings.
Separate building.
Yeah, there's-
Two
there's
totally separate buildings.
Yeah, my understanding is the basketball gymnasium, that's not coming down, is it? At Holiday? No. Yeah, no.
This plan has the gym gone and the social center gone.
It doesn't have it on it.
It's just not accounting for it, actually. Yeah.
Which was my understanding where the pickleball courts were gonna go with the gym moving for the YMCA. But I also thought the YMCA deal was done. So if that deal's not done, I hope we're not removing our only
Yeah, this concept
basketball
conceptual
court
needs some improvements.
or
here.
gym.
I think, yeah, we should probably look
this
about
is
side by
a
side.
Conceptual plan too, and so the actual design part too will have to still be a part of it as well.
Is this asking for any kind of approval? I mean, I'm looking at it as an item of update, but
Yes, this is just updating you on the conceptual. We'll come back with the actual design portion.
okay, good. Because
And if you do come back, if we could get kind of like a progression of what the
Yes.
original was, because I remember a few things staying. This looks like more and more stuff is getting moved around. But
Okay.
it'd be great if we could kind of see what's there now, I think everybody was on board with what they were doing for a while, and now it seems like there's some more changes coming. So just kind of to see the progression would be
Yes,
I think
when
really
that's a-
helpful.
when we come back with the design, we'll make
Yeah.
sure that.
I mean, layout and where it is and
Okay.
anything like that.
Okay. Right.
How many levels is the parking deck gonna be?
So I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, 'cause
I
it
don't
just-
know if that's fully vetted as yet.
Yeah, because there seems like there's
With the
not
hockey
enough
there, it's
parking
gonna
with the
be
War
like
Memorial, update with the hockey thing and what they plan to do with
skating rink, yeah.
the skating rink, and then, Parker Playhouse, which looks fabulous if you haven't been yet. It really looks great.
Well, it looks like they're still gonna have a couple parking lots for like if you want to bring your dog there, if you want to go play
I was just
tennis
worried
or
about 2
whatever.
and 3 being in the right spot. The,
Yeah.
Splash pad and the playground.
Yeah, because I thought that's where the original parking lot was slated for, wasn't it?
You mean the
that's
parking garage?
parking garage?
No, the parking garage was always supposed to be next to Parker. That was the deal.
Okay.
Parker said if we'll raise $12 million if you build us a parking garage. So there it is. Half of the Holiday Park's bond money goes to a garage that will service Parker Playhouse and the Panthers, two very well-off entities. But so it goes.
Well, the other thing that I would be concerned about is on the Friday night musicals, where is everybody gonna park? Because they take up the parking area where 4 is, and part of 3 presently on Friday nights.
The idea is they park in the garage.
That's a heck of a long walk for people to take.
And also you have the Panthers are going to be using War Memorial to hold Live Nation concerts, and it doesn't sound like there's going to be much coordination. So they'll probably be having concerts on their own concerts on those nights. So there absolutely won't be any place to park.
We'll still have concerts in the park.
Yeah, in a building. Yeah, a long walk.
With your beer garden on the roof.
Oh gosh, the beer garden's going to be tiny. So first off, Carl, I do want to thank you for bringing this. I know when I had asked you if we could bring this, your point was you guys don't get a vote on this. I'm not going to bring it. And then I went on and on. And you're like, fine, I'll bring it. And so, one, thank you for bringing it. Two, since we have it, and since this is on the record, and since I'm trusting AECom will play back this video and listen to all of our wonderful feedback, I'm going to just put on the record a couple responses to this. So everyone, I apologize, but I'll be quick. I've spent like 3 years of my life on this. So, okay. So I would encourage, my feedback is that number 4, I'd like to encourage that it be something kind of like a dynamic fitness area rather than just a recreation of the Kiwanis fitness area. They have these really cool things that are called like challenge courses that are kind of like American Ninja courses, but for people of all ages. And they're set up where you can like do them and like post your time and things like that. And I think given the proximity to Flagler Village and how much Flagler Village is blowing up and you have a lot of young professionals, having something along the lines of like an adult playground for people in their 20s or 30s or older like me, like kind of like an adult play area fitness center rather than just the standard workout equipment that we already have at the Kiwanis Fitness Center. I think that would be cool and dynamic, and we should do that, especially given the proximity to Flagler Village. I think that 3 and 2, the playground and the splash pad are great. I would reiterate that the representation in the Parks Bond was that it would be a world-class signature playground and large splash pad. I don't know the square footage of that, but I've been to the splash pad. It's Plantation Heritage numerous times. It is. I hope we're not thinking something on that level. It needs to be sizable, like 30, 50,000 square feet. And it should be to the extent that there's going to be probably, I assume there'd be some sort of like 4-foot fencing or something like that around the splash pad. It should be in the same area as the playground so that people can go back and forth to the playground so that parents aren't stuck with one kid in the splash pad and one kid in the playground and no way to like watch both of them. I would encourage if there's any way to do anything with the parking garage to have any type of active rooftop that we do that, though I certainly understand the cost difficulties of that. Also, I really, really think that the area that is where Stars Gymnastics and the Bridge Club currently are, that's not used as park space. We should work with them to sell off that property and reinvest that property, the money, back into Holiday Park and find a way to have a home for them still. So for example, if you could sell that piece of property for say $10 million, you could build your parking garage 2 stories higher and have the bottom floor be the Stars Gymnastic Gymnasium and have the actual space they need. I really think that, we have this space there that is part of the park, but will never be used for park purposes. It's being used for commercial space purposes. We should sell it at a premium and invest it back into creating true park uses. And then in the space that's currently kind of to the southwest of 9, where the dog park is going to be, or just somewhere in that general vicinity, I think that we should try to do something interesting and cool, like, for example, building a very large, like, earthen mound, just a big giant hill, cover it with grass, and let it be like something people can run up to the top of and run down. Like, we don't have topographical features, and I think that there are ways that you can make interesting things out of natural materials without having to spend a ton on concrete or anything like that, just to make the park more dynamic, and it would still be open green space. But I think that would be a really cool thing. Like, just build a big giant hill there and cover it with grass. It would be cool. And then lastly, even though the ship has sailed and it's completely impossible, the entire rooftop of the War Memorial expansion, that should be an open air rooftop park. Think of like the wharf, but up there with food and drink and like kids play area, there is nowhere in the city to like take your kids to a restaurant and have like kind of an open place where they can like run around and play while you sit and have a meal or have a drink, other than maybe Parks and Ocean, and it's not great. Nothing wrong with Parks and Ocean, but there's like roots and dirt. And that would be the perfect place to have something like that, and that should be being done, and it would pay for itself, and we wouldn't even have to spend the money. I get it's their rooftop, so they can do whatever they want with it, but my one chance to get on my soapbox, I'm not gonna be on my soapbox and not say that. Thank you.
Okay, we'll share.
Can I add a request?
Yes.
Since we're giving a list, the caboose and the airplanes have to stay.
I like that.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
that's
train
good.
and the plane, right?
Yeah, the train and the plane.
The train and the planes have to stay.
Played on it as a kid.
Are icons.
My kids played on it.
And a lazy river for the splash pad for Alex.
Well, now you really,
And iguana-proof fencing around the new foliage and around the splash pad.
I'll agree with you, we could sell off that frontage on Federal Highway very good, but I would vehemently disagree with you that the gymnastics and the bridge is not park space or activity space or whatever the case may be. That's for another soapbox.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that their uses aren't park uses. I'm saying we should take that's what I'm saying is like, we should find them new space within the park. So we should sell off that land. And so Stars Gymnastics, they definitely have outgrown their space. They need a bigger space. You'd love to have them have a bigger space with like a vaulted roof so they can do like indoor parkour or something like that. So what I was saying is, you sell off that for say $10 million, you build your parking garage, 2 stories higher, and then lease to Stars Gymnastics the entire ground floor of the parking garage. That way you have like a retail ground floor. Stars Gymnastics has a better space than they have now. And then the same thing with the Bridge Club. You just work with I understand the Bridge Club owns their building, so it's a little complicated, but still you work with Bridge Club. Stars Gymnastics and Bridge should come out better.
I'll withdraw it. We don't need to debate this right now.
I guess if we're adding to things, can we just, I know it's like part of Jimmy Everett, but if we could digitalize at least the process to order courts and to have an extra ball machine.
Oh, you're referring to the tennis center?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just hope we have enough places to park.
Carl, how's the renderings look for the new hockey rinks over there? Are they staying pretty true to the renderings we saw a couple of years ago or whatever?
You're referring to at Holiday, you're saying?
Yeah, at Memorial, War Memorial, the actual hockey rinks.
Have you been able to drive?
Oh yeah, I go by there all the time. I go to
It's
the dog park.
massive.
I'm just curious to know if they're making any changes or are they sticking to the plan?
No, they're sticking to the plan,
Okay.
and I actually had a conversation with shared an email with one of the Panthers, and it's still going to be. I think the original plan was for that to be done at some point towards the end of this year, but I think it's going to bleed into the spring. So
Hopefully they'll be busy at the Stanley Cup to deal with all this stuff.
Still need to address pickleball at this. Can't have the long list and not say the word pickleball.
Add 8 more pickleball courts, 100%. Have to add them. I think if we're not getting rid of the social center, which I thought we were, then I think you should just tear down the handball courts to put pickleball. There's not that many people play handball. There's not that many people that play handball.
I'm not touching that one, Gary.
You can either draw the ire of the pickleballers or the handballers. You choose.
I'd suggest we go to our next topic.
Time to move on.
Thank you for your update there, Carl. It was very informative. Shall we move on to the city survey by Phil Thornburg?
Yes, so this is basically here just so that you're aware that the city did conduct another survey. We didn't do one last year, if I'm remembering correctly, and we wanted to just give this information for you all just so that you have it, and that's pretty much the reason why it's on the agenda.
So this isn't within our realm, but the overall flow of traffic requests, or not requests, that were 28% less satisfied than the US, I really feel we could clean up the Sunrise curve.
Which one? The Searstown
Yeah, I know.
one or the Gateway?
The whole way
The
through.
US 1 juncture?
Fix those lights to be more automatic all the.
They tried that at one point.
Synchronizing them.
Didn't work.
Be careful.
And now they've closed off that street that goes up and through there, so.
Yeah.
Oof,
Infrastructure board.
oof.
Infrastructure board's been pretty involved in what they're doing with the Sears, how they're gonna change all that there, so.
The light sequencing?
No, where they're gonna level Sears and they're gonna make a lot of changes at that juncture there, where US 1 and Sunrise Juncture are up.
What's wrong with our landscaping and our parks? Why'd it go down?
You know, I'm really not sure. I mean, it's sort of one of those things that, you know, when you conduct these here surveys and you kind of see them over the years, especially like if you kind of notice throughout the years how the incremental changes, whether it's plus or minus. But I mean, we are addressing or trying to address through the budget process some of our needs. So hopefully that'll reflect if we're funded for it going forward.
How many, we only got 717 surveys returned? Out of how many that were sent?
180?
Yeah, and the company that provides these here report for us advises it's still statistically valid
717 out of 180,000, huh?
because there's equal representation from each district, and you know that's what they advise us.
And they had equal representation from every demographic.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Carl. Next item would be communications to the commission. Does anybody have? Oh,
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and make a motion to say thank you to the city commission for honoring the original master plan and managing to get 4 new schools added into joint use parks. I just think it's a commendable achievement, and I think it's great to see that the advisory board, you know, was obviously a lot of people were involved in this, so it seems like they really went above and beyond to please everyone, which is nice to see in our local government.
Was that a motion to?
That was a motion just to say thank you to the city commission.
Do we hear a second? Any discussion? And how would you want that communication worded exactly? Because that's going to have to be.
I would like to commend them for accommodating all the parties that were involved and stepping up to the plate to and honoring the master plan and adding the 4 new parks. I can write something up if
You know,
We wanna-
my concern with that, Alex, is that there were other parks and other things that still did get cut from their wish list. And so there are, not everyone thinks this is great. I think it's, we've been able to accommodate everybody, but I don't need to, I don't think it's necessary.
well, we don't have to say thank you. It's just a suggestion, and I made a motion, and if you guys want to vote it down, you feel free.
I'm thankful that they did it, but from my understanding, they don't care about communications. to the city. It's just one more thing. I'm gonna text.
Well,
I'm gonna text my commissioner. And I'm gonna text Commissioner Sorensen.
Got some letters
Let them
going
know.
out.
What?
I said I have some letters going out too, saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna thank them individually. I'm just not one for
My
communications.
opponents
I
said
don't
that.
think that they care.
Fair enough.
Well, we still have a motion and a second on the floor, so, the biggest thing is
What's the wording?
what's the wording, and then there will have to be a vote at this point.
Motion would be to just say thank you for accommodating the joint use parks
Funding request.
With our money.
controversy.
Thanks for using our money.
I'll make it
Mr.
easy.
Chair, are you gonna call for a vote, or?
I'll withdraw the motion.
No, I'm not opposed to it. I haven't heard an actual, I mean, in a way, somebody's got to actually get
Get it
something
worded exactly.
dictated that states what we're saying.
If we're gonna do this, I think it'll take more time than what we're gonna dictate right here. I would.
Right.
If it gets passed, I would ask Alex to draft it, and I think there's more to it. The
Right.
point is, do we feel that that's a communication we need to send?
Well, that's discussion which is available right now as well, but
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll withdraw the motion and keep it simple, and we'll, individually contact our commissioner.
all right then. Any other communication to the commission desired? With none heard, the next item on the agenda is adjournment. Can I get a motion?
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
A second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.